Welcome to the August 27th, 2025 Maryland Higher Education Commission meeting. For the record, 9 of the 12 appointed commissioners are present. We have Commissioner Vans, Burnham, Howe, Polonio, Thompson, Williams, Warmack, Otrey, and Motts present. First item on the agenda are remarks from me as chair and the secretary's remarks. As you know, the agenda for today's meeting had included the continuation of the Commission's review of the Maryland Institute College of Arts, MICA, proposal for an undergraduate program in interior design, and Morgan State University, Morgan's objection to that proposed program. However, staff and the Attorney General's office have determined that the Commission needs to request and review additional information. Specifically, a legal issue has arisen as to whether MICA's proposed program and Morgan's objection to the proposed program may be considered pursuant to Education Article Section 11206.1 of the Maryland Annotated Code. More specifically, questions have arisen as to first, the applicability of Education Article 11206.1A1, which provides that these program review procedures do not apply to new programs that use existing program resources. And second, whether an objection to a proposed undergraduate program may be reviewed under Education Article 11206.1E1 as amended during the 2024 legislative session by House Bill 1244. Therefore, in order to gather additional information and for the Commission to consider that information before moving forward, we have removed the continuation of the program review from today's agenda until further consideration can be completed. That concludes my remarks. I will turn it over to Secretary Rye.
Thank you, Chair Mott, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to the August 2025 meeting of the Maryland Higher Education Commission. Let me begin by saying welcome back to all the students, faculty, and staff at our wonderful Maryland institutions of higher education who have returned to campus earlier this week, and also to those who are scheduled to return next week. I hope you enjoyed your summer break and have come back refreshed, renewed, and ready for a new academic year. Before we get into today's agenda, I would like to provide you with a few updates. Early last week, MHEC learned that a system error by its vendor led to incorrect eligibility determinations for the Guaranteed Access Grant Awards. Due to this error, some students who were ineligible for awards were incorrectly awarded funds. This week, MHEC has made the decision and reinstated all the awards for over 600 students for 2 distinct groups. More than 170 students who were eligible for the grant and had their award wrongly canceled. Their awards had been reinstated. Nearly 460 students who were awarded in error, we have made our commitment and awarded scholarships to those students as well. MHEC will use a total of $6.2 million available through the Howard P. Rawling programs to honor these awards. By doing so, the agency affirms its commitment to putting students first. A modernized and more secure scholarship management system is being developed to prevent these issues from happening again. Deployment is scheduled for fall 2026. Staying on the topic of guaranteed access grants, today I'm informing the Commission that MHEC will formally request a statutory amendment to delay the decentralization of the guaranteed access grant until 2029-2030 academic year. This extension will allow us to align the program with the new Maryland Student Information System, ensure institutional readiness, protect the students from disruption. We will also be requesting legislative authorization and funding for a comprehensive capacity study and a review of financial aid redesign with the goals of streamlining programs, reducing administrative burden, and improving FAFSA completion. Each month, I will provide an update on the number and at times types of programs MHAC is approving. Since our last meeting in July, MHAC has approved 4 new degree programs. In the year 2025, Academic Program Review has fully processed 462 proposals, 461 of which were approved. This represents 99.7% program approval rate. I would like to applaud the academic affairs team for their continued efforts in this area. As Chair Martz mentioned, that today's agenda will be amended to remove the continuation of the Commission Program Review hearing for MICA and Morgan State. MHAC and the Attorney General's Office took this action after staff determined the need to request the review additional information. MHAC is committed to ensuring consistency, fairness, and adherence to applicable law and regulations. We are committed to a thorough and fair analysis of this matter. During last month's meeting, I announced that MHAC had formed a steering committee to build a new state plan for higher education. Since that time, the committee has come together to discuss various themes around developing this plan. They will continue to meet monthly to finalize the document the Commission will adopt in winter 2025. I want to again show my appreciation for our steering committee members for their participation, and especially Vice Chair Agu and MHAC staff for leading this work. In closing, I like to stress that the work we do, providing financial assistance, approving academic programs, developing strategic plans, and conducting research is for our students. Our goal is to make higher education accessible, affordable, and equitable, giving every student a chance to succeed. Thank you. And Chair Martz, I'd like you to know that I will have to step out for another meeting, maybe another half an hour or so. Thank you for your attention.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I also want to thank you and your staff for your thoughtful analysis and leadership on this issue with respect to the decentralization of the GA awards. And I have full confidence that this is the right path to ensure that institutions and particularly students are well supported during the transition. I look forward to working with the General Assembly to secure the necessary statutory changes and move forward collaboratively. Our next item on the agenda is a review and approval of previous minutes from our last meeting on Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. I hope that my colleagues have had an opportunity to read the minutes. Is there any discussion? And if there's no discussion, is there a motion? Commissioner Burnham.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes that are before us with any necessary corrections.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Howe?
Let me get this on. I second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion before we vote? All right. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or nays? All right, the ayes have it, and I will note for the record that our 10th commissioner has joined us. Commissioner Agu is here as well. Thank you. Speaking of Commissioner Agu, moving on to our next agenda item, an update on the Maryland State Plan for Higher Education will be briefed by Vice Chair Agu and our Deputy Secretary, Kyros Levanis. Turn it over to you.
Sure, and apologize this morning. My camera for some reason is not working, so I will simply be a voice from on high for this update. And Madam Deputy Secretary, you'll be doing that. So if we go to the next slide. Oop. Did we lose those slides?
They're there now.
All right, great. So if we can go to the next slide. And I know for folks who are on these meetings every single month, it sounds like we're repeating ourselves. We know there may be new folks who are not, but again, as folks have heard, the Maryland State Plan is something that by statute we are required to do. We want to take it. We want this beyond compliance and really use this to become a true strategic plan for Maryland higher education, and we use those words very specifically because it will not only be MHEC who is doing this, it'll be all of our segments, it'll be partners from industry, it'll be partners from the community-based organization space, local and state government as well, to make this happen. And so really we are expected by law to do three important things. One, identify the present and future needs for post-secondary education and research. Secondly, what are those current and future capabilities? And then lastly, what are our priorities? And as you heard the secretary talk about, we are doing that not in a black box way, but we are doing that really in concert and in partnership and engaging with myriad stakeholders across the state. If we can go to the next slide. Again, really our vision is kind of our working vision statement right now is, and I won't read all of this, but you'll see the big words: contemporary, post-secondary, democracy, meaningful credentials, long-term competitiveness, and social well-being. These are objectives that we have for this plan. And so when we look at if this plan is going to be successful, whether it's now and in the future, we're going to look at this statement again to see if we achieve what we've put out here. And again, this may change slightly as we work with stakeholders, but this is our working North Star kind of going forward. Next slide. Right now, we have really three big statewide goals. And again, for those who are new to this, you'll hear us at times interchangeably talk about goals and plan. These goals really are an extension of the Lumina attainment goals that we established back in 2013. And the way that we talk about these and the way that I talk about them is it's an analogy I use a lot. The goals are where we're trying to go. The plan is technically how we get there, turn by turn. And so these goals, just really briefly at a high level, one, looking at post-secondary attainment, meaning how many people in Maryland, how many credentials are we gathering, one. Two, that each credential has value, this measurement of credentials of value, meaning value to the individual, value to the state. And then lastly, how are we using higher education to spur public impact and innovation? This touches on research, economic development, as well as civic engagement, which has become a bigger issue. What you'll see along the bottom is a term, leave no Marylander behind, which of course many of us have heard from our governor. But equity for us is not a goal. It has to be a continual element of everything that we do. So when we look at each of these, we're not just going to be looking in aggregate. We're also going to be looking at is every Marylander being touched by these goals and by this plan to bring those goals about. If we go to our next slide. Sure. So we have been working particularly with our steering committee on just some guiding principles, and so I'll go through each of these briefly. And actually, could we populate all the principles? So again, if the goals are the destination, if the plan is the turn by turn, the principles are the how we choose to drive. How do we play this game as we go? And so we established a couple of principles that I think are very important. One, how do we center every learner? If we're going to use a business analogy, the learner is our customer. How do we make sure that we are centering around them? That can be the first time, full time. That can be, frankly, the person who wants to come back, who might be later in their career, and that may be folks in the middle, because the definition of learner has changed, candidly. Secondly, that we're here to drive impact and value. We are actually here to drive things that we can measurably say has made this state and the life of every person in this state better. And then lastly, collaboration. What is very clear to MHEC team, as well as I think to everyone here, is that MHEC can't do this by itself. No one company, agency, level of government can do this by itself. And so we have brought together through the steering committee, and also, frankly, over this work, it's going to require a big coalition to get this done. And so we very much say this is not the MHEC plan. This is the Maryland State Plan for Higher Education. there was deep agreement across our steering committee around these principles. Next slide. So I won't go too deep into each of these. You'll have these slides afterward, but really we define each of these very, very precisely. But this first one I really, really, really will harp on. It is easy for those of us who work in this system to at times defend parts of the system because they're just what we've been used to. But what we've always got to say is, what does the student need? And if the system doesn't conform to that, we have to change the system. That will be harder at times than others, but it's what we have to do, because in the end, if the learner is not successful, Maryland is not successful. Maryland, excuse me, is not successful. If we can go, and we can go to our next two slides just really quickly. Again, we want to make sure that we get value for everything that we do. I'm looking at Commissioner Williams, who I know I think very much like this. If we go to our last slide, just on again, no one can do this by themselves, and again, that's why we brought together this steering committee and this kind of stakeholder engagement effort now. And I really praise MHEC and Secretary Rye for really putting muscle and effort and time behind this, because we've already I've lost track of the amount of meetings that we've had, and I know we have a ton more to come, but these will be valuable because when it comes time to do the work, these are going to be people who are going to be bought in and involved, and also we're going to benefit from their great ideas at every step along the way. Next slide. So we actually have our third steering committee meeting coming in September. We are for those of us who, for anyone who's been able to come to these steering committee meetings, and particularly for my commissioners, feel free to drop in. We are using these to do work. So one of the things we're doing right now between meetings is a pretty involved survey to committee members to get their feedback on proposed principles and goals, to highlight areas where there might need to be greater clarity. And really saying what are the things that absolutely need to be in this plan. And also we're looking for, which is not quite here, any good ideas that are happening where people are working, whether it be on a campus, in a company, that we need to fold in that we may not be aware of. Because while everyone here is smart, that we know there's no monopoly on good ideas. We go to the next slide. So in September, our focus is going to be on attainment. That's what we're going to be focusing on. We have some outside folks from HCM, as well as some others, who will really give us a sense of where we are in Maryland, where are we nationally, and then what are some kind of path-breaking models from nationally and internationally that we can look at. In October, we're going to be focusing on talent strategy and economic mobility. This really value question. How do we make sure that when someone gets a credential from a Maryland institution, that it is going to lead to a better life for them? And then in November, we're going to be focusing on research, innovation, and public impact. We may have some, how will I say, one-off kind of offline gatherings on some of these with some stakeholders to further inform these, but our goal is to go very deep there. And I will say each of these, for those who have been in those meetings, very robust, particularly when you have 30 people on a virtual call, but really, really valuable. And again, we are making sure that we're picking up every good idea that we get along the way. But just to give you a sense of, this steering committee is not just for show, but to go deeply into topics that we know are going to be in this plan and be very important for the state and for the plan to get there. Next slide.
That's it.
Oh, that was the last slide. Okay, never mind then. But again, happy to take any questions on our process. But we have really decided, and really the secretary has decided, and I very much agree, that the process will be as important as the product. In fact, it is by having a good process and an inclusive process that we get to a good product being a plan that actually meets the goals I think that each of us have for Maryland higher education and beyond. And so happy to take any questions. And if there are no questions, happy to give it back to the chair, but if there are any thoughts. Commissioner Howe.
First of all, I want to compliment you and the entire group of people that you have put together in this very, very important project. It is extremely complex, and the inputs that you're getting from all of the stakeholders is so vital to the end product that you produce. So I know that you are spending a great deal of your time attending all these meetings and taking away from your family when you do so. So my compliments and deep, deep thanks to you for engaging in this project.
You're very kind. I am coasting off the brilliance of the MHEC team. So quite honestly, they make that easy. So really the thanks goes to them. But I would also want to say deep thank you to all the other people who don't work in higher education who have taken part in this process, from the Maryland Chamber of Commerce to the Maryland Tech Council to a number of community-based organizations, and we'll have more who are coming because they've taken time too, even though this may not be their day job, but they realize they have a stake in this. So I'll turn your thanks back to all those other folks who've been involved. Commissioner Tabor.
I just want to echo a huge thank you. Sorry, I was on audio before, but video now. I was unfortunately unable to make last month's meeting, but I was reading the minutes and saw there was ample discussion about the new legislation and where new performance metrics are going to go into place.
Yep.
I'm curious if part of this work is doing a preview run potentially of how our institutions and programs stack up on metrics that we know are going to be very important, at least for federal funding, if not something we would want to mirror in state funding in the future, just as we dig into the data of how all this unfolds.
Yes, the answer is yes. That will likely be spread out over the next 2 meetings as we look at attainment and also value. So what we've tried to do is bring in some outside experts to, one, show us what's happening nationally. How does Maryland stack up? And then also just frankly give us some maybe some out-of-the-box ideas for how we can capture that going forward. I will say we're very much doing that in real time, so trying to decipher exactly what some of those changes are and how it shows up is something that the MHEC team is doing in very much in real time, but the answer is absolutely yes. And I will also say it actually a good idea that we got from from Dr. Wilson over at Morgan, which is when this plan is developed, he suggested what in the military you would call a red team, which is get some national experts who have not part of this process to take a look at what we produce, to say, hey, here's what you got right, here's what maybe you missed. And I think that will be tremendously valuable, and we will be doing that, again, to make sure that we dot I's, cross T's, and make sure we don't leave good ideas on the table. But I think the answer is yes. I can't say all the parts of that will happen at this moment, but it will definitely happen. Because candidly, we also want to make sure that if there is, I'll speak for myself, lemonade from the lemon in DC, we want to make sure that we capture it to get to where we want to go.
Great, thank you so much. And just through my own digging, I found there are some pretty helpful workbooks that tell you exactly how to calculate various metrics. So would want to make sure our team is, again, doing those dry runs before they become really impactful.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts or questions before I turn it back to the chair? Commissioner Williams.
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, and I echo everyone else's support for your hard work and the hard work of everybody involved. I just want to make sure I understand the process, the timeline. My understanding is that we're looking to have a draft done by the end of the calendar year, but statutorily, the plan needs to be done by the end of the fiscal year. Is that right?
So the plan is due, and MX team, correct me if I'm wrong, it's either due June or July of 26. What we know, candidly, is one, we ideally would like a draft done, reviewed, and kind of approved by this commission before the session, because we want to make sure that we are able to put this to the General Assembly, all the stakeholders are aware, so that by the time it actually needs to be approved, all the stakeholders, again, across the state, as well as particularly in Annapolis, have seen it. So our goal is to have a draft that can come before this commission, reviewed with all of your feedback, that we can then take into the session in January, so that everyone from the state Senate president to the speaker, as well as the relevant committee chairs and stakeholders across the General Assembly, can also see that. So right now, basically, you're seeing our steering committees go up through November. Then in December, ideally the December commission meeting, you'll have that final plan, give feedback, and hopefully going to give final approval, so that when the session, and by the way, MX team, if I misstated any of this, please stop me. That can kind of go before relevant stakeholders, and the deputy secretary might stop me because I may have misstated part of the timeline. Ma'am, go ahead.
Buenos dias, everyone. Good morning. Just to add on, nothing that Vice Chair Agu said is incorrect. All of that is accurate. The statutory requirement is at the end of the fiscal year, as you stated, Commissioner Williams. And it would be helpful to have this North Star document going into not only the budget season, but the legislative session. One thing that I would offer is that feedback that we've gotten from the steering committee is to make sure that this is a living document. I think something that we see happen in organizations all the time is that a plan is adopted and then it's relatively static and it doesn't get revisited for another 4 years. For us, the adoption of the state plan is really a continuation of work that's going to happen over the course of 12 to 18 months to align our accountability frameworks and our policy schemes and do more of those dry runs that Commissioner Tabor talked about. So I just want to also put that on the table that while there will be a plan that is adopted, I think our goal would be to review it regularly on an annual basis to make sure that it is up to date and fresh and reflective of not only what's happening nationally, but the needs of the state as well.
And let me actually add one more thing, which is a document that it's not been covered for this, but there is a long sprint of actually administrative things that will happen in terms of exactly as the Deputy Secretary said, aligning particularly budget performance metrics so that by the time we come to that budget meeting that we all have in 26, that we're having that budget process in alignment with the plan, where what we don't want to do is we frankly institute the plan late and then we have basically a year of lag in terms of making it show up in how institutions are behaving and so on and so forth. So that's partially why the timeline looks as it does. Great. Other thoughts or questions before I turn it back to the chair? You all will hear more about this, and particularly for commissioners, feel free, if you want to pop into a steering committee meeting, we would love to have you, as well as you'll see minutes along the way. Again, if you aren't able to make those, because we know not everyone's free on a Thursday at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Thank you, Vice Chair Agu, and I just want to echo my colleagues' thanks to you and the MHEC staff team for the incredible work that you put into this. I know that you have circulated the dates and times before, but just so we commissioners have it at the top of our inboxes, if the MHEC staff team wouldn't mind sending the commissioners the exact dates and times along with the helpful summary of what's going to be covered, that would be really helpful.
No worries, we can definitely make that possible.
Excellent, thank you. Next on our agenda are some amendments to the commission bylaws. And these amendments were circulated in accordance with Article 7 of our bylaws, which require that the written text of any proposed amendment be provided to all members at least 14 days prior to voting. So that was done. And we are considering 4 different amendments, and they were circulated in advance, both to this commission and I believe publicly. The first amendment aligns the bylaws with current statutory language regarding the appointment and service of the Secretary of Higher Education. The second amendment establishes a specific quorum requirement for meetings at which the commission considers objections to academic program proposals under Education Article 11206.1. And amendments 3 and 4 update statutory references to reflect the relocation of the Maryland Open Meetings Act to Title III of the General Provisions article. So really a housekeeping amendment just to make sure that our bylaws are consistent with current law. So I wanted to open the floor to any commissioners for any potential discussion of these amendments. I know you've had at least 2 weeks to look at them, but this is the first time we're able to discuss them as a group. So any thoughts or discussions, commissioners? All right, quiet group today. So Ms. Ward, our Assistant Attorney General, has provided me with the legal language. I believe that the recommendation that would need to be approved would be the following. It is recommended that the Maryland Higher Education Commission approve the revisions to Articles 4, 5, and 6 of its bylaws. Do we have a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Commissioner Thompson, are you raising your hand or did you have a comment?
That was the second.
Wonderful. Thank you, ma'am. All right. All those in favor, say aye, please, or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstention? All right. And I will note for the record that we now have 11 of our commissioners present. Commissioner Tabor Stalen has been with us, but she was on the phone. Thank you for now being on video. So we have 11 of the 12 of us here, and I believe that was 11 yeses and with 0 nays and 0 abstentions. Ms. Ward, anything else we need to do for those bylaw amendments? Just want to make sure we're legally compliant.
No, it just needs to be signed by you, but we will get that.
Okay, just send it over and since we're remote today, happy to sign it. All right, the next item on the agenda is public comment, and I believe there are no public comments. Is that correct, MHEC team?
That's correct.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Well, that concludes this meeting, with the only announcement being that our next meeting will be our annual budget meeting, which is a longer meeting on Wednesday, September 17th. And for those who've served on the commission for at least a year, you'll remember that that is starting at 10 o'clock in the morning and running all day. It will be hybrid. You know, I'm a big believer in in-person attendance. I think you get more out of it if you can make it in person. MHEC has moved offices in the last few months. So we'll make sure that those who haven't been to the new office get the new location, but there will be a hybrid option as well. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Right. I imagine there's no objection there. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you on September 17th.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.